Here to introduce our main speaker for today is Seattle number 4 member Beth Knox. Beth, over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. That was very nice of you. Well, we all know that right now we're facing unique challenges that require innovative solutions. The question is, how do you come up with these solutions? How do you teach your brain to be more innovative? And where do these breakthrough ideas really come from? So our speaker today says it's not only possible to become more innovative, it's actually fun. So for 15 years, Bill Stainton was the executive producer of Seattle's legendary comedy TV show, Almost Live, where he won 29 Emmy Awards, thus shattering his dream of winning 30 Emmy Awards. He also has written for HBO, Comedy Central, and The Tonight Show, and was a regular contributor to Seattle Business Magazine. Today, he's going to help us get in touch with our own innovation as he presents Connect the Dots, Breakthrough Thinking in a Virtual World. Please join me in welcoming Bill Stainton.
Thank you so much, Beth. Thanks, everybody. Oh, look at the virtual silent applause. That's so heartwarming. It's almost like being back on a stage. Well, as Beth just told you, the subtitle for today's program is Breakthrough Thinking in a Virtual World. I think we can all agree, though, that that doesn't go nearly far enough, does it? Virtual world, come on. This is breakthrough thinking in a crazy world, right? This world, remember way back, like in, January, maybe even early February, when all was good and the world looked like this. Remember that? Remember when everything was so nice and peaceful and we're all thinking 2020, wow, it's going to be a great year. It's going to be fantastic, right? Woohoo, here it comes, 2020. This is going to be it. And then all of a sudden March hits and boom, there's our world. That's where we are right now. Look at that. Look, it's a world that looks like it was designed by a cat, right? Like somehow a committee of cats. Has that been your experience? If it has, put an exclamation mark into the chat room. I just want to see if you feel like your world so far this year has been designed by cats. Let's see. Anybody? There we go. Heather, yes. Heather. Oh, look, multiple cats. This is the world. This is where we are right now. And so, okay, fine. So what do we do about it? You know, what is it that we do? Because look, we're all trying to figure out what the future is going to look like, right? Like what's going to happen next. And the truth is we don't have a clue. We have no idea. I mean, people pretend that we do. You get futurists, people like that say, well, it's going to be like this. The only thing that we know with any reasonable certainty is that what's coming next is not going to look like what came before. You know, once we're through all this, it's not going to snap back to the way it was. So how do you deal with that? What do you do? Well, what we keep hearing is, well, you've got to be innovative. You've got to be able to turn on a dime, because if you don't know what's coming, then your best defense is to be able to innovate, to be able to come up with creative ideas. You know, think outside the box, innovate, create. And we hear all that. We hear all those things, and it sounds good. And, you know, those are all true. Those are all true that, yes, we do need to innovate. We do need to be creative, all that kind of thing. The problem is that that's not really helpful. You know, when somebody says just innovate, it's not very helpful, because nobody's dealing with the foundational question, which is, how do you do it? I mean, how do you innovate? You know, it's like if you're up in an airplane and the pilot has a heart attack and somebody says to you, they said, you know what you should do? You should land the plane. And you think, that's a great idea. Now, how do you do that? I don't know how to land a plane. So when everybody says, well, you need to be innovative, and I'm sure we've all heard that, right? You need to be innovative. Okay, how do you do it? And the problem is, because we don't necessarily know how to do it, we tend to just dismiss it and think, okay, well, I guess that's just not for me. I'm not one of the creative types. Innovation isn't, I'll outsource the innovation. You know, I'm just not an innovative person. And that's not true. I hate it when people say that. So let's dispel that myth right now. Several years ago, they did a study. And by the way, I don't know who they are, but they are very busy. They do a lot of studies. So anyhow, they did a study, and the goal was to try and find out what's the difference between creative people and non-creative people, right? What separates creatives from non-creatives? And so what they did was they surveyed a bunch of creative type people. Now, who would these people be? Put it in the chat. Like, who do you think of when you think of creative people? What types of people? Go ahead and put something in the chat there. Left-brainers, okay. What about careers? What about Bill Gates? Yeah, absolutely. Chihuly, okay, good. Chihuly, an artist, thing like that. What other types of people? Myself, as artists, inventors, musicians. That's right, dancers, poets. Right, exactly. The creatives. And they asked them a bunch of questions. Questions like, did your parents have music playing in the house when you grew up? Did you read a lot? Were you read to? Did you have a pet? Did you play outdoors? Did you have a lot of friends? So they asked all those questions. And then they surveyed a bunch of non-creatives. Now, who would these people be? Put that in the chat. Try and avoid individual names. But engineers, CPAs, accountants. There we go. Yeah, exactly. So they surveyed the non-creatives, and they asked them the same questions.
Sorry.
And again, oh, hush, Siri. And they asked them the same questions. And again, remember, the goal was to see if there's anything that separates the creative people from the non-creative people, the innovators from the non-innovators. And they found one thing, and one thing only. And it was this: the creative people, the innovators, believed that they were creative. They believed that they were innovative. That's it. That's the only difference. But can you see how that makes all the difference? How that's the difference that makes all the difference? How if you go through life believing that you're creative, believing that you're innovative, you will actually create that universe for yourself. Just like if you go through life believing that you're smart or good looking or confident, you create that world. So belief is the foundation. You believe you're creative, and all of a sudden you will live in a creative universe. So belief is the first foundation. But how does it actually work? Because see, people have this mistaken idea of what innovation really is. They think it's the lightning bolt that just strikes the gifted few, right? Here's the secret. We are all the gifted few. We're all the gifted few, and it's not about the lightning bolt. So Beth told you earlier that for 15 years, I was the executive producer of Seattle's comedy TV show, Almost Live. There I am standing outside of Studio B where we did Almost Live. Just out of curiosity, just let me see your hands if you ever watched an episode of Almost Live and hated it. Wow. Okay, wow. That's that hurts. I gotta be honest, that stings a little bit. But still, so at Almost Live, our job was to be innovative, on demand, every week for 15 years. And let me tell you something. When your paycheck depends on you being innovative, you can't afford to wait for the lightning bolt, right? You've got to learn some techniques. You've got to learn how this really happens. And that's kind of where we all are right now, isn't it? Right now, we can't afford to wait for the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt happened. It happened earlier this year. So now we have to figure out how to be innovative on demand. And here's what I learned from 15 years of Almost Live. It's not about the lightning bolt. Innovation is all about connecting dots. Taking two or more things and connecting them in a way that nobody else ever had before. And so it behooves us all to have a large collection of dots, to collect as many dots as we can. Now, what are these dots? Everything. Ideas, experiences, people, every place you visit, every conversation you have, every podcast you listen to, everything you watch, every book you read. These are all dots, and they're all stored up there, all dots that you can connect in ways that nobody else ever has to have these innovative ideas, innovative connections. Here's how it works. So here's a collection of dots. It's a sheet of Avery dots, okay? There are a lot of dots here, which means a lot of connections. That's good. That's good. This is what it looks like inside the brain of a breakthrough thinker. This is what it looks like inside the brain of an innovator. Some people's brains, however, look more like this, right? Very sad. Very, very sad. Not a lot of connections going on here, right? I'm curious, how many of you know somebody like this? Type yes into the chat room if you know somebody like this. And type yes in all caps if you're related to somebody like this. Yeah. Todd, maybe. Okay, good. Ballard Fights. Oh, Monia Maz, that's very cute. A lot of fans here. So look, it just makes sense, doesn't it? That the more dots you have, the more connections you can make, right? Which means the odds of any one of those connections being that breakthrough idea that you need right now increase dramatically. But one more thing to put in the chat. What do you notice about these dots? I want to see what we have. What do you notice? Exactly, Lori, first one up there. Yeah, they're all the same, aren't they? They're all the same. They're all 3/4 inch navy blue dots. Now, if all of your dots are 3/4 inch navy blue, if you only ever read the same kind of thing, if you only ever hang out with the same kinds of people, if you only listen to the same podcasts, if you only watch the same news, if you only experience the same experiences, if all you have is 3/4 inch navy blue dots, then most of your ideas are going to be 3/4 inch navy blue ideas, right? I mean, not exactly breakthrough. But what if your dots look more like this? Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Boy, you start connecting these dots, and there's no telling what color your connections, your creative ideas are going to be. A blue dot and a yellow dot make a green idea, right? And what if these dots were also different sizes, different shapes? What if your dots, the ideas, the experiences, the people in your life were different colors, different sizes, different shapes, different beliefs? Can you see the difference that would make in the quantity and the quality of your innovative ideas? That's what it's all about. Because here's the thing. You need to collect lots of dots and lots of different dots because you never know which dot is the one that's going to lead to the breakthrough. You never know what is going to be that key connection that unlocks that great idea that you need right now. You never know which one it's going to be. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. We don't know how to make these connections usually because most of us aren't practiced at connecting things. I mean, occasionally something will come along, that's great, but we're not conscious about it. We're not proactive about looking for connections. So I want to try something right now so that you can get an idea of what it feels like, what these connections really feel like, what the innovative process really feels like. And I really want you all to play along with this. So I could take about a minute or so. So I've got a collection of words here, 6 words here. I'm going to put the 6 words up on the screen. Can everybody see the 6 words? Everybody can see them? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Do it, Jensen. Could you unmute yourself and select one of these words, please?
Mute. Okay, I think I did it.
Yeah,
Right?
you did it, DeWitt. Just pick one.
Landscaping.
Landscaping. Okay, excellent. DeWitt has picked landscaping. Okay, and how about Catherine there on the beach? Catherine Williams, could you unmute yourself and pick another word, a different word, not landscaping? Oh, you just muted yourself again, Catherine. Unmute yourself. There we go. Oh, it keeps muting. It keeps muting on you. I don't know what's wrong there.
Hold on, we've got everybody muted. I'm trying to unmute them, and I think two of us might be pushing things at once.
I promise you this is the last time. This is the last time. But keep in mind, so far we have landscaping. And Catherine, what's your word?
Litter box.
Landscaping and litter box. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to use the chat room again, and I really want you to play along because this is important to get an idea of what it really feels like. This is what the kind of thing we did at Almost Live for 15 years. We have litter box and landscaping. Your job, and I'm going to give you like maybe up to a minute to do this. So there are no bad ideas here. Just take anything. Your job is to combine those two things, litter box and landscaping, in some way to come up with a product or a service. Litter box and landscaping. So I'm just going to wait here and see what kind of ideas you come up with. Again, there's no time to judge the ideas. Litterscape, that's good. Oh, Jim Loder. Oh, organic pet mulch. Very good. Litter box. Okay. Backyard sandbox, dual purpose, litter box, and scenic, and the kids can play in it too. fertilizer. Look at this, look at these. I'm landscaping the litter box with trees, litter box landscaping cat, a zen garden for your cat. That is really, really cool. Lance, look at all this. See, this is what it is. This is what it feels like. Okay, that's fantastic. I really wasn't expecting this kind of results. This is amazing. And see that's what creativity feels like. Because let's face it, there's no real connection between any of those 6 words. We made that up. You made this up. All these things you're typing, you're making that up. And any one of these could actually be a viable business, a viable idea, or lead to a viable idea. It could be the idea that leads to the idea, right? That's what it works. That's what it looks like. That's what the creative process feels like. It's finding those connections and actively seeking those connections out. So how does this apply in the real world? Well, let's go back to 1440. A guy named Johannes Gutenberg. He took a wine processor and movable type. 2 dots that already existed in the world. They were available to anybody. They were out there. Wine processor, movable type. He was the first person to connect them in a way that nobody else ever did, and created the printing press. Just by connecting 2 other things. That's how it works out. But so you've got to be open to new dots. You've got to actively look for new dots, different colors, different sizes, different shapes. Be open to new dots, and then be open to making the connections, and be open to the different colored dot. And we think we are, because we think like we're the good guys, we're the good people. We're open to all that. Sometimes we're not. I'll tell you what I mean. January 10th, 1987. January 10th, 1987. It's a Saturday. It's show night for us at Almost Live, and we are pumped. We are pumped because we've got a genuine big name to be our guest on tonight's show. Our guest tonight is this guy, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, he was starring in a show called 21 Jump Street up in Vancouver, BC, and we got him. We got him. So it's like happy dance time, and this is going to be a great show. Johnny Depp's on the show tonight. Going to be fun. I'm not sure if that's exactly how our song went, but it was something like that. We were pumped until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. Show day. I get a call. Bill, listen, it's Johnny Depp. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to be able to make it today. No, they scheduled reshoots for Jump Street, and I can't get out of it. I'm really sorry, but I have to cancel. All of a sudden, that's our world, right? Does that look familiar? Isn't this all of our worlds right now? Like starting like about in March, all of a sudden everything, 2020 is gonna be a great year for me, and then March hits and boom, train wreck, right? That's where we all are. So what did we do? Well, we panicked, because it's the day of the show. I call an emergency meeting and we try and come up with a guest for tonight's show. It's got to be somebody local. No time to fly anybody in. So it's like, how about one of them Seahawks? No, they're out of town this week. What about that cute new anchor at Como TV? No, she's in rehab. She was. And it's starting to look hopeless when all of a sudden one of my writers, in fact, it was my lowest paid writer, pops his head up and says, I might be able to do something with liquid nitrogen. Okay, clearly he did not understand the situation, right? I mean, we're looking for a guest to interview, and he's babbling on about liquid nitrogen. By the way, this was my lowest paid writer. His name was Bill. Well, naturally, my first reaction to Bill's suggestion was, shut up, Bill, you're now frightening all of us, right? Not my proudest moment, but why was that my first reaction? Because I had blinders on, didn't I? I was only looking at the 3/4 inch navy blue dots, and all of those dots were guests to interview. That's all I could see, guests to interview. But then Bill and I started kind of paint a picture of what it could look like. And all of a sudden we thought that this actually might work. And we gave it a try. And that night, this guy became this guy, who now hangs out with these guys, and on occasion, this guy, on occasion. So what was the difference? What happened? Well, we were all looking at the navy blue dots. Bill was the different colored dot. See, we were all writers and producers. Bill Nye was and is a science guy. He saw the world differently than we did. He was the different colored dot. And for a while, I was close to that dot. I didn't think I would be, but I could only see, I couldn't take the blinders off. But notice something else. Bill Nye also asked a different question, didn't he? Because we were all asking, who can we interview? Bill Nye changed the question. He said, how can we fill the time? Do you see how that changes everything? When you change the question, all of a sudden, everything changes and new possibilities open up, right? So be very careful about the questions that you're asking. You know, be willing to change the question. When you change the question, you change the parameters, you change the perspective, and that changes the realm of possibilities. So I want to talk about questions for just a little bit of time now. I want to talk about 3 questions. I call these treasure map questions because they can actually lead to the treasure map questions. These are questions I want you to get into the habit of asking yourself these questions, okay? First one is this: who else has solved a similar problem? So whatever you're going through right now, whatever challenges you're facing, whatever opportunities you may have, whatever you're going through, ask yourself, who else has solved a similar problem? And I don't mean who else within your industry. Look for the different colored dot. I mean somebody outside of your industry. Maybe somebody not even in industry at all. Some people have solved problems by looking, oh, well, you know what bees do? You know what ants do? There's a trucking firm in Scandinavia that solved one of their problems by looking at what ants do. So be open-minded, like figure out, okay, whatever you're facing, whatever issues you're going through, who else has solved a similar issue? Then obviously you ask yourself this question: what did they do to solve it? Now that makes sense, right? Who has solved something? What did they do to solve it? That's where most of us stop though. But it's the third question that unlocks everything. How can I apply their solution to my situation? Most of us never get that far. We read a success story and we think, oh, that's very nice. And then we never think, oh, can that apply to me? And we close off because if it's not our industry, we tend to think there's no relevance. But remember, your brain will answer any question you ask of it. So notice the question here is not, can I apply their solution to my situation? If you ask your brain that, your brain can just very easily say, no, lunchtime. But you say, how can I apply their solution to my situation? Your brain will start trying to figure out things. Just like when you connected litter box and landscaping. When you force your brain to try and do something, your brain can come up with some amazing things. How can I apply their solution to my situation? So your homework this week is to find a success story. Any success story outside of your world though, a success story outside of your world, and connect it to your world using the treasure map questions. Now, next week, you're going to be hearing from this guy, Matt Hoffman. Matt's being very innovative in the world of single malt whiskey. So as you're listening to him next week at this time, I want you to do a little reverse engineering. Ask yourself, okay, what dots is Matt connecting? What's he seeing that others aren't seeing? What connections is Matt making? A lot of it has to do with Pacific Northwest ingredients and things like that. But ask yourself that. Ask yourself, what questions might Matt have asked himself to get to these innovations? In other words, when you see an innovation, reverse engineer it. That's how you get used to it. That's how you start kind of working on this kind of stuff. So as we start to close out now, I just want to leave you with this. As I work with and observe organizations, businesses, through the eyes of the marketplace right now, what I'm seeing is that they tend to fall into one of 4 different places. The first place is what I call hibernation. Hibernation, some of you may know somebody who's like this. You know you're in hibernation when you're just kind of waiting for things to return to normal, right? And you're hoping that you have enough acorns to last until that happens, right? And I see whole organizations that are like this. They're just kind of like huddled thinking, okay, eventually this will all be over. So that's one place I see people. The second place I see some organizations, I see more of them here, is in what I call animation. Animation is you're doing the same thing you always did, but you're doing it faster and harder because you need to, right? So basically, you're still you're treading water, but you're doing it really, really, really quickly. The third place I see some organizations is a place I call exploration. And that's when you're actually trying new things. You're actually innovating a little bit. You know, you don't really have a strategy for it though. You don't really have a game plan. You're trying a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Maybe this will work. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. Let's throw this against the wall. And you're thinking, you know, at least I'm trying something, right? At least I'm trying something. I'm in the game. I'm not sure if I'm going in the right direction, but I'm on my way. And then the last place I see very few organizations, but a few, is a place I call Game Changer. Game Changer is when the marketplace looks at you and your competition looks at you and goes, oh, wow, everything has changed now. You know you're in the game changer space when you're actively looking for the connections that no one else is seeing. You're asking the questions that no one else is asking. And because of that, you come up with those red dots when everybody else is stuck with their 3/4 inch navy blue dots. So I don't know where you are. I'm not going to ask you where you are. I'm just assuming that each of you can kind of see where you are. All I ask is that, is it where you want to be? Is where you see yourself where you want to be? Because the truth is, you have the tools. You have the ability. Innovation is not reserved for the gifted few. All of you right here on this call right now, all of you in Seattle Rotary, you are all the gifted few. So as we close out, I just want to encourage you to collect dots. Collect lots of dots. Listen to things you wouldn't normally listen to. Collect different colored dots. Have conversations with people you wouldn't normally have conversations with. And then ask yourself right questions. Ask the good questions. If you're not coming up with the innovations you want, try changing the question and see what that does. I'm Bill Stainton. It has been an absolute honor being with Seattle Rotary today. Thank you so very, very much.
Bill, thank you, my friend. Awesome, as always. Good energy. Exactly what we probably needed to hear from a club standpoint, which I'm going to come to a question about that, and an individual standpoint. Let me start with a quick question. I'm curious if you could ask the question back to our group, the people that answered the question about litter boxes and landscaping, if that was predominantly a left brain creative set, a left brain analytic set or a right brain creative set. I'm just watching you do that and watching a slew of answers come through. And given the fact that you just said that left brain analytics can be creative, I'm really curious to open that up just for a second to see who answered that and which side of the fence they put themselves.
Is that a question for me or for the group?
It's a question, yes. Yes is the answer. It's a question for you to get back to the group. I don't know how you're going to do it, and maybe I'm going to tell you, but it just really struck me just which one was which.
Sure. And I know there's a whole lot of conversation around the science of left brain versus right brain, and are there actually left brain people and right brain people? And the science seems to basically say no, although the two hemispheres do have specific jobs. The right brain tends to be more creative and visual. The left brain is more analytical, but we all use all of our brain. We just use different parts at different times. What that activity was designed to do specifically was to activate the right brain, the more creative side, because there was no time. I didn't give you enough time to analyze that. I just said, start typing. We don't have time. Just start typing. And at that point, there's no time to really think through, well, wait, could this really work? Wait, would it be feasible? How much money would it take? This is a startup. I can't, there's no time for that. So it is just, but I really was amazed because I wasn't sure if I was going to get anything, or maybe I get one or two. No disparagement on you, but sometimes people are just kind of reluctant to throw something out there. But man, you all were amazing. So I'm curious, throwing back out to you, if anybody has any kind of insight on this, like, what was your process? What went through your mind? Was it just instantaneous, or was there a little bit of a thought process? I mean, some of you who came up with some of those ideas, I'd be curious to know what your experience was.
Well, I would have to imagine it's pretty spontaneous in that you asked the question and all of a sudden within milliseconds you got answers. So let me pick up exactly where you just left off too, if I may. This is a question from Joyce. How do we use what you're talking about in this Rotary tomorrow? How do we perpetuate this, I guess, is the question.
I think the best thing is, first of all, right now, from this point on, you have no excuse because you know what innovation really is. It's not the lightning bolt. You no longer have the excuse of saying, I'm not an innovative person. And you prove that in the chat when you combine litter box with landscaping. You know, so you're out of excuses here. The key is to be proactive about, like when we were doing Almost Live, because our job was to write jokes every week for 15 years, everything that came to us, every street sign we saw, every conversation, the very first filter it went through was funny, not funny, or can I make it funny? You know how like when you buy a new car and you take it off the lot and all of a sudden you see, oh my goodness, everybody else has bought this same car, right? We've all had that kind of experience. Or if your refrigerator breaks down, all of a sudden you're like, wow, there are a lot more refrigerator ads than I thought there were because it's top of mind. You know, that all of a sudden is your filter. That's your radar. So when your filter is, again, we talked about when your filter is, I believe I'm creative, I believe I'm innovative, you go through life seeing those things. You go through life making those connections. Now, most of us have to practice it. So here's what I would say I want you to do. Next time you read anything that you wouldn't normally read, like, well, this is going to date me, but like when you would go to a doctor's office and there'd be a magazine there, I'm dating myself because we used to actually go to doctor's offices and there would actually be magazines that other people had handled that you could then pick up and handle as well. Some of you kids ask your parents and grandparents about that. But when you're having that experience, don't just read it as like, you know, wallpaper kind of stuff. Read it, find an article, find something you wouldn't normally read. Next time you read something tomorrow, a blog, anything, ask yourself that question, how can I apply this to my world? If you're reading something about the migration patterns of, you know, emus, I don't think emus migrate, but whatever. Ask yourself, how can I apply this? And don't let yourself off the hook until you come up with something. Just like, you know, you were not off the hook. You had to come up with a way to combine landscaping and litter box because I forced you to. You know, be your own bad guy. Be your own bad person. And just get into that and try doing that once a day or once a week, whatever. Because once you start doing that, your brain is going to start getting the idea that, okay, we're doing this. We're going to start making connections. Okay. And then you'll start to see. Because the more dots you have, the more patterns kind of start to reveal themselves. And you're going to have this experience of like, oh, you know what? This reminds me of that time I was in Italy and this person did that. And all of a sudden, boom, we've all had that experience, right? Of, hey, this reminds me of that. That's the same thing. It's just be proactive about it. And again, specifically ask your brain to give you answers to how can I apply this to where I am right now and where I want to go.
Yeah, no, I got it. All right, so Jimmy asked this question, how do you develop your perspective? This is specifically for you. How did you deal with problems before your time with Almost Live?
It depends on the problems. There were a lot of fights at Almost Live. And I loved those fights because usually the fights were about which is the funnier number, 17 or 19. And we'd have like a half-hour discussion of which is the funnier number. And it would get, you know, they would almost get violent, but they were violent because they cared, you know, because our team cared about the product. I'd much rather have members of my team fighting because they cared about the product than not fighting because they just didn't care at all. It's like, fine, whatever. I don't care. Do whatever you want. So there's something good about having those different ideas. And again, when people come from different backgrounds, you're gonna get those different ideas. And then there were like real problems sometimes, like when the show almost got canceled in season 5, which was terrible. Season 5 was a horrible season. Write to me sometime. I'll tell you about season 5. But Jerry Seinfeld still remembers it. Some of those, just like everybody else, what happens is you kind of go through, you know, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross kind of thing. First you deny, then you get angry, and then when you get to the point where you say, oh, I wish this wasn't happening at all, that's when you can start to have kind of some breakthroughs. Because a lot of times, oh, cute dog, a lot of times the things that are giving us headaches, ask yourself this question first. Instead of first saying, how can I fix this? Ask, do we even need this? Because a lot of times what happens is like, you know what if I just get rid of this? you'd be surprised how often that can solve the problem. Not every time. I mean, some things need to be fixed. But just ask yourself first, does this even have to be here? Is this even necessary? Because if it's not, then you just save yourself a whole bunch of time.
Say, Bill, just
Yeah.
as a quick follow-up to Ken's last question, how did you ensure that the "I could do something with liquid nitrogen" statement didn't get pushed aside and dismissed? How did that evolve into what became the Saturday Night Savings skit that day?
Right. Part of it, Jeffrey, was desperation because the clock was ticking. Lorne Michaels said, I have to quote him because I used to say it, but then Lorne Michaels said it, and everybody knows it as Lorne Michaels' quotation, so I can't really say it was me. But he said, we don't go on the air because we're ready. We go on the air because it's 11:30. And so, the clock was ticking down, and there just weren't a lot of options. And like I said, Bill and I started to kind of paint this picture of, well, liquid nitrogen. It could be, very visual. I could take a big marshmallow, throw it in the liquid nitrogen, put it in my mouth, bite down, smoke pours out of my nose and mouth. And we're all thinking, oh, cool. All of a sudden we started to see, but I guess once we were able to lower the blinders and just even entertain that idea, then we could start to see that it could be a possibility. So part of it was just desperation. It wasn't, I would love to say it was huge, great insight on my part. A lot of it was just desperation. And we really thought it was just going to be a one-time only thing. And also, here's another thing, because as I said, Bill Nye was the lowest paid person on the staff. He was my lowest paid writer. And so he was like, a lot of our reaction was like, Bill, shut up. The grown-ups are trying to solve the problem. Because we tend to discount people, don't we? Based on their position. Now, one nice thing about a pandemic and upheaval is that hierarchy kind of goes out the window. The rule book has been tossed out. So that's why times of upheaval are great times for innovation, because you have to innovate, and nobody cares where the great idea comes from, and nor should we have ever, but sometimes we do. We tended to discount Bill until all of a sudden we just couldn't anymore. I'm not sure that answers the question at all, Jeffrey, but that's my memory of the experience.
So, Bill, we got room for 2 more quick questions. Is that good?
Sure, yeah.
We got 3 minutes. How do you 3 minutes? You've met me. How do you proactively eliminate blind spots and implicit bias as you connect the dots?
That's a really tough one, because we all have implicit biases because we see algorithms. Because our brain basically is a brain that puts together patterns, and we tend to put together, and sometimes those patterns aren't accurate. Really, the best step is to, at least initially in the innovative process, just force yourself to accept anything and everything, even the horrible ideas. Because again, here's the thing. The horrible idea might be the idea that leads to the idea. There were loads of times around the Almost Live writing desk, writing table, or writing room when somebody would give an idea that, that you couldn't possibly do on television. There were things we said and did in that room, but we had to, because we could say, well, no, that's not going to work. But hang on, wait a minute. What if we take this part of that and do this? So realize that if you find yourself with those blinders, those inherent biases, they might be keeping you from the $1 million idea. So they're just not worth it. Okay, and you have one more question?
I got time for one more question. This is pretty fun, and it kind of dovetails into exactly where you just left off. Were there a lot more viewers than normal the night everybody expected Johnny Depp, which helped Bill Nye's future career?
No, because I'm a terrible marketer. I decided to keep it a secret that we were going to have Johnny Depp. I thought that would be a great surprise for the for the studio audience and for the audience at home. I'm just a terrible marketer. Although word did get out around the station, and all of a sudden, all these people who I'd never even seen before, they worked in the bowels of King TV, were coming up to me and saying, "Bill, you know what, Bill?" They were trying to be cool. So you know what? It occurs to me, I've never actually gone to a taping of Almost Live. I'd love to go to one sometime. In fact, I think I'm free this week. What about this week's shows? No, busted. So no, Bill Nye did not get the benefit of my brilliant marketing in publicizing Johnny Depp because I was an idiot.
Well, we appreciate everything that you bring to our club every time you show up, and today you certainly showed up. So, Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for being here and for really for being willing to play.